Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And when you go to apply and they ask you, how did you hear about Podgo? Make sure you tell them that the Vault Classic Music Review sent you.
Welcome to the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective on the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, so you're right here with us, and we thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and with me I have the crew. Of course, I got my boy in the place to be. He is the creator and host of the Raw Sex Podcast, coming to you every single Friday out there in podcast land. I'm talking about none other than Cousin Damo, Dominique Marks, here with me again today. Make sure y'all checking out and following Raw Sex. Subscribe to the Raw Sex Podcast and follow them online at Raw Sex Podcast and Raw Sex Podcast 1 on Twitter. And of course, as well with me, I have my boy J.O. here in the place to be. And we're about to chop it up again here, y'all. I want to thank once again the fans, everybody out there. Thank you for showing love on YouTube and of course always on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter as well. We love the interaction that we're getting from everybody and love the love that we're getting on YouTube. So please continue to spread the word out there. Continue to, as we always say, tell a friend and tell a friend. As we always say here on The Vault, our motto is hashtag open the vault, hashtag nothing but the classics, or MBTC. And today we have yet another bonus episode, a bonus segment of Cards, Dominoes, Drinks, and Smoke. The last one we did last week went so well, so we decided to go ahead and do another one. This time around, we're doing the year of 2001, a year in review. 20 years ago this year, there's a lot of things that are meeting its 20th anniversary in this year of 2021, looking back at 01. So just, a lot of things happened that year. It was a big year overall in society. There were a lot of watershed moments that happened that year and things that happened that continue to reverberate throughout history and throughout society today. And in hip hop, there are a lot of things that happened that year that sort of reverberated and set the tone for a lot of things that are happening today as well. So y'all, we get into it. 2001, 20 years ago. Just an idea as far as where I was at. Well, me and Jay, we were in school together at Morgan. That was the second semester of my freshman year as we entered the year. It was a particularly, for me, kind of a interesting and exciting time because, and the music definitely played as a soundtrack to that. I mean, I know, Jay, you can speak to, man, just being out and around, that being your first year at Morgan, the soundtrack of the music that you can sort of still hear in your mind today from partying and being out places, and me thinking about those experiences at places like Baltimore Live and 320 and the Tunnel and Fahrenheit. You know what I'm saying? And that soundtrack of being able to hear those tracks from like Jay-Z, from Ja Rule, from Fabulous, from Ludacris, to, the reggae tracks with stuff like Baby Sham and Bounty Killer and Beanie Man, and hearing the R&B tracks from like Destiny's Child and hearing stuff from Missy and Eve. So just a lot of good things that bring back those memories for those times we was at Morgan, bro. I always think about that soundtrack a lot. And when I went back to 01, my mind went right back to that.
Right. Like, and even on a local level, us being up there in Baltimore, like, you think about like local like joints like Tim Trees and Nature's Problem, like that Bankroll joint, and Shake It Shorty, like
yeah, buddy, being in Baltimore, definitely, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it definitely made their contributions as far as hip hop too. I mean,
yeah,
people might have forgot about that, but I mean, they definitely did. And joints were definitely party rockers too. So
they were, man, they definitely were. Also, sort of like thinking about that particular time. And the fashion, I think about that fashion back then too, and remembering that it was a lot of dudes that were bleak clones with the with the fitted caps tilted at a 45-degree angle with the do-rag underneath of it. You know what I'm saying? And you had our fashion from back home. We had the, Bammers with the Harley jackets and all types of stuff. Like, the NASCAR racing jackets, the headbands, the rubber bands around all types of stuff, man. It was crazy.
And glittered out, too.
Yep, and glittered out. Yeah. Crazy. And Damo, so this was, as you always say, I left you behind, man, during this time. You know what I'm saying? I left and went home and left, and you were left to fend for yourself in the halls of BHS, man. But what is it that you remember from that particular time period, 01?
01, man. Prom. 01. 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Not graduating on time.
Yeah. And that hurt me, dog. That hurt me when you told me that you wasn't. I was like, damn, that's crazy, man. Yeah.
01, did we go to the Bowie Roosevelt championship game?
Yeah, Bowie Roosevelt championship game, man. For those of y'all who are listening in Prince George's County, our high school, Bowie High School, won the state championship at the end of that year. And me, Damo, and a couple other friends went to go see them play and beat our arch rival in the state championship game.
And you gotta remember, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, Roosevelt, I remember like my freshman year, Roosevelt smacked the shit out of us at homecoming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, my senior year, actually, we played Roosevelt at homecoming. That year, they won the state championship. They went undefeated that year, and they beat us at homecoming like 46-0 or something like that. I mean, they smashed us, and they was disrespectful too. They came up, and the Palms would put that like the little, powder balls and stuff like that, like go BHS or go Bulldogs or number whoever, and the Bama's lined up and pissed on that joint on the fence. And they were disrespectful throughout the entire game because they were good and they knew they were good. And they knew they used to smack us around. Yeah, they was disrespectful, and it was satisfying seeing us beat them. And not just beat them, but destroy them on the field that day. Huh?
Wasn't it 21-0?
It was like 20-something to 6. Like, they scored a touchdown at the very end, but we wanted to shut them out. So, yeah, that was a lot of things happening. And just so you can understand some of the events and things that happened during 2001. So in the beginning of that year, and Jay can even remember this as well, in Super Bowl, I believe it was Super Bowl 35, the Baltimore Ravens defeated the New York Giants in the Super Bowl in the beginning of that year. It was big for us because we were in Baltimore. And during that year, that team seemed to be a team that when they got in the playoffs, they got hot and nobody could beat them. It was annoying because people came into that school year thinking that the Skins were going to make a run for the Super Bowl because they had Dion and Bruce Smith and all these other people, and we didn't even make the playoffs. And Baltimore not only gets into the playoffs, but they get to the Super Bowl and they win.
Yeah.
So
it was nuts down there too.
And it was nuts downtown after they won, and they showed on the news all night long. So they won the Super Bowl. Later on that year, heading into that summer, a very important film came out that's not necessarily tied to hip-hop, but I think became a part of the hip-hop and also of pop culture. The Fast and the Furious came out June 2001 when we went home for summer break. And I can honestly tell you, back then, I don't think any of us knew how big of a film that was going to become. And that the fact now that they've had, 8 movies, and now they're planning on having, I think 10.
9.
Yeah, 9 movies, and now they're planning on having, I think, up to 10. But that movie back then, it was a movie that I think everyone got into, one, because it was about fast cars and it was about street racing, and nobody really knew who Vin Diesel was other than watching stuff like Pitch Black, because that's really what we knew him from. Nobody kind of knew as much about Paul Walker, though he had been in a couple of teen movies leading up to that point. But the two of them became a part of this movie franchise, and it became bigger than almost anyone could imagine. But that film in particular had Paul Walker, had Vin Diesel, had Michelle Rodriguez, also had
that's the reason why
Ja
I
Rule.
wanted to see it, because it's Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
She does have like air about her, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
She came from girl fights. So I was like, oh, I gotta go. I'm going to see my baby up in there. I'm going to see this.
And then Ja Rule was actually also in the very first Fast and the Furious, and he was only in there for like 15 minutes, and he was gone after that first and opening scene. But that became a big part of the culture because then all of a sudden people started to get back into exotic cars, and street racing then became a really, really big part of the culture after that. And you see people running around with exotic cars all of a sudden, the lights underneath the cars. Yeah. And then it's really started a revolution where it became eventually into hip-hop culture. Then you see people rolling around with Phantoms and Lamborghinis and all these exotic cars, and everybody wanted to do those same things.
Yeah, that started because like when I got down to Florida, them boys was street racing for real. When I was down there, that shit was crazy. Yeah, low cars barely can go over the speed bump. You gotta go over the speed bump extra slow to the side. A pothole. Yeah. Oh, I remember my boy. He had the Honda Prelude. That jump was so low. I said, hate getting in this car because. A normal car ride might take 10 minutes to get from here to Crystals, and that junk gonna take 20 minutes ride with him because he got to go over everything. But boy, when we got in them, and he got the street racing going on, man, that junk was love.
Yeah, and
got chased by the cops one night and everything. They couldn't catch him though.
It spawned a lot of different sequels too. The Too Fast, Too Furious with Tyrese and Ludacris, and eventually involved a lot of other people. Bow Wow being in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, and then that one.
Yeah, I mean, but but that's an important part of the series, as we found out eventually in the lineage of everything.
The Asian guy.
Yeah, Han, and then eventually you saw the involvement of all the whole crew coming together with Tyrese and Ludacris and The Rock and Jason Statham, and it became a huge series. But it started, and that summer, it was a really popular film for people in our age group to go see. Later on that summer, though, the unthinkable happened, and I remember when this happened, Jay, because I was actually in the dorm room with Rollins. In August of 2001, everybody woke up one morning and we heard the news that Aaliyah had died. And that was a gut punch because nobody expected it. Like literally when my roommate told me, he said I guess he was reading it on his computer, and you know how the dorm rooms, you're sitting up next to each other. So I can't see his screen because I'm at my computer. He's at his computer. And he said, dog, what I'm about to tell you is going to crush you, young. I was like, what? He said, young, Aaliyah died. And like those two words he said, like literally were like a left hook and then a right hook. And it was just like, what do you mean Aaliyah died? Like, we had just seen her that week on 106 in Park, giving away the Escalade by a dude who went to Morgan, as a matter of fact. That dude who won the Escalade was a Morgan student. And it was so crushing because she was really big at the end of that decade. We were anticipating that new album had come out, and there was more hits that were coming out from that album. And then all of a sudden, when she went down to the Bahamas to go shoot the Rock the Boat video, we found out that the plane had crashed and she had died. It was crushing news for a lot of us in our age group because we were just like, yo, she was really just starting to get started. Like, she had a lot of potential still in front of her, even after a phenomenal career. So for like a week or so, and for almost like 2 weeks or so, that cloud was sort of hung over the music community, man. I remember being devastated listening to that and hearing
I remember
news.
like, because I remember like this, I think maybe like the day after that is when I was going back to campus, but like I actually heard about it that night because like I don't know, for whatever reason I was listening to it on radio. I thought I heard somebody say Aaliyah. I'm like, nah, I ain't talking about that. And then I got, you know what I'm saying, home to my mother's joint, like decided just to turn on MTV because you know MTV would just keep kind of up to the minute as far as like major events like that.
Yeah.
And then like they had like the whole breaking MTV news brief, and that's when they made the announcement like singer Aaliyah tragedy her life was cut short today in the Bahamas in a plane crash. Yeah, dog, I named it. You talking about a gut? I named it threw up when I heard that shit, man. Yeah. Like for real.
Yeah,
it was just that devastating, and then because it's like it wasn't like, you know, illness or you got caught up in some street stuff and got took out or something like that. This is Aaliyah we talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, and the plane crash.
I heard of it earlier because my people was dialed in. Because you know, and they heard me like, cause I met her one time, and I was like, yo, no, I was like, I was that John a little emotional, a little allergy. I was like, hey, for real? Yeah. I thought I was gonna get a little bit older and have a shot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I definitely, I ain't gonna lie, I definitely shed a couple of tears because it was sad, man. Because it was like in a plane crash, and then afterwards, when you hear about the aftermath of what led to that plane crashing, it's like, yo, this shit really could have been avoided. Right. You know, like that's the thing I think more than anything else. After we started hearing the stories come out, it even hit you even harder. And I feel you, Dom. Yeah, and I feel you, Damo. I had a friend of mine who actually worked at BET Soundstage when it was still up, you know, and the restaurant right around our way. And he actually served her at a table with people, and he said that she was the nicest person in the world. Like she didn't act like she was stuck up. She wasn't demanding. She smiled. She said thank you. Everything. Asked them. I mean, all that stuff. So man, when you see good stuff like that happen to good people, man, and it almost hit me almost as hard when Pac and Biggie died. No lie.
When I was introduced to it, I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth. I was like,
yeah, you were stunned, right? Just like literally.
You can say hello, like
like when you walk in front of somebody that big, and I bet you when you walked in front of her, she was as beautiful as she looks over television and in pictures. She was probably that much more in person.
And the crazy, I didn't even have that same reaction when I got around Destiny Child. I was cool, but with her, I was in that joint like,
yeah,
just in awe.
Yeah, just in awe, like right, right, stuttering and shit, can't even find your words. She had that effect on people, man. It was sad, but not even 3 weeks later, everybody's world was changed when 9/11 happened. I was on campus again. I found out about and was in the cafeteria when the second tower hit. So it was almost like that whole day, it was like in a fog. Because it was just like, dog, is this shit really happening? Like, this is like some shit that you see on a movie. Like it was, like, I knew it was real when they canceled classes for the rest of the day. When they were like, yo, no more classes. Just no, don't come to class. And luckily that was on a Tuesday, so it was a slow day class day, but it was just like, wow, that shit really kind of struck and hit people like, yo, this shit, like, yo, they literally took buildings out. Like, Pentagon got hit and buildings. You know yeah, like.
The plane that hit the Pentagon flew right over my grandfather's shop because I remember I was walking to work and I get to work and the plane go right over there. I said, Dad, me and my grandfather was outside. I was like, man, that plane low. Wow. I was gonna fly. Like 10 minutes later. Just like on the news. Now, of course, we looking at the New York, the towers. Next thing you know, what? My grandfather, that's the one that just flew over because it won't never fly. No planes don't ever fly this low over here. Low. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, cause like, you know, plus like going back to your point there, Brian, like, you know, a lot of us up in Morgan were either from like DC or New York areas, you know what I mean? So like, and then cause matter of fact, that was my late day. So I actually woke up late, kind of like after the fact, like, you know, you be up all night hanging out, kicking it, whatever.
Kicking it, yeah.
I turn on, cause we still have Fox 5 News in DC up there. I see Manhattan Island and smoke. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then like, I see the drain, the Pentagon, like they said a plane hit there. And then I saw like the playback of it. So first thing I'm thinking is like, call home.
Yeah.
Couldn't call home.
Yep.
Like none of us called it DC or New York. It was just shut down.
Yeah.
And then like I do remember like class being canceled. I think I got kicked out of like 3 buildings just trying to because I didn't want to be in my room. Like it was just like this eerie feeling. Like and plus like, you know, because like my mother, like she'll sometimes have to go to the Pentagon on business. So like I'm extra worried. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, by the grace of God, man, she was cool. She had to go over there, and you know what I'm saying, it was still a tragedy.
Yeah, it definitely was. That was the first time that I learned about using a cellular network and not being able to get a call outgoing for hours. Like that was a scary, scary moment. And like you said, it hit home for a lot of us there at Morgan because the big part of the student body was from the DMV and from New York. So for a lot of folks, it hit home because it was so close to home and it was so close to everything that we knew to be this sort of like these pillars of like American society. And that was really what led to eventually what's now still the longest running war in American history is the war in Afghanistan, which happened later on that year. And then to sort of talk about heading into hip hop things, well, 2001 was the year when Jay-Z and Nas beefed. And that was the year when everything sort of came to a head. They had kind of been, as Damo, we talked about this during the tail of the tape last year, they had been subliminally sort of dissing each other for like 3 or 4 years before then. But when Nas dropped the H to the M-O, the homo freestyle, dissing Jay when it had come to a head, that's when Jay felt like he had to bring out Takeover, which was on Blueprint, which was produced by Kanye West, which really was disrespectful to a lot of different reasons. And because he dissed not only Nas on that, but also Prodigy from Mobb Deep. And the whole third verse was about Nas, and it was literally like tearing to shred everything about Nas that was out there. And it was a big talk about a lot of it because Blueprint dropped on 9/11, you know?
Right.
And it was in the atmosphere for a long ass time until we knew that Nas was coming out with the new album, and we heard that things might have been a little different. We didn't realize how different it was going to be until, well, we got the first single about Got Yourself a Gun, which folks kind of rocked with. But on December 4th, 2001, Nas dropped probably the illest diss track ever in Ether. And after that, the stakes got raised to a whole nother level because we already knew that Nas was coming for Jay-Z's neck, and he wasn't leaving any doubt whether or not he was going to go for the jugular because he went for it. And it was the talk for a long-ass time on radio, on our campus, and you had people, either you was Team Jigga or you was Team Nas. That was it. There was no in-between for either of it. You couldn't be like, oh, well, you know, I kind of like both of them. It was like, nah, nigga, you got to pick sides. Who you with?
But it was somewhat like that even before they even went that way.
Yeah.
Everybody was team Nas or Team Jigga.
Yeah. It definitely was, especially because people thought that Jay had surpassed Nas in those years right around Nostradamus and between Nostradamus and Stillmatic. It was like Jay had pretty much ascended to the crown, and not just New York, but in the game, period. What followed after that from 2001 was a number of different disses, including Super Ugly, which, you know, Jay went a little too crud, so his mom's chastised him and made him apologize. And then there was also then a couple of other subliminals with Nas. Jay came back again with the Blueprint 2 track, HOVA, I got my mojo back, baby, oh, behave, where he went at Nas again. Mm-hmm. And then Nas kind of ended the battle with the last real nigga alive. After that, there was really nothing else that could be said because Nas said it all. That battle at the end of that year, the fact that Blueprint was a classic, the fact that and it was got the 5 mic rating in the source, and then Stillmatic came around, and that got the 5 mic rating in the source, was almost like, okay, can you top this? I ain't gonna lie, I like Jay-Z, but I was Team Nas all the way. So when Nas wouldn't respond, I was just like, yo, what is this nigga doing, man? Like, this shit is about to be over for this nigga. Like, what an ominous end for one of like the brightest stars in hip hop, with one of the best starts ever to go out this way. And man didn't let me down. He didn't let me down. So, and they continued that for a little couple of more years until they actually reconciled in 2005. And then as a joint venture, Jay brought Nas on board to Def Jam for that 3-album deal, which and they did work together. You know what I'm saying? So they found a way to be able to build after all the stuff. And
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Biggie and he's puffy.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, there were some lines in that battle. And all the diss songs that they had, there were some lines there that you kind of sit back and be like, damn, yo, like, I don't know how you could be friends with a nigga after some shit like that, especially after the shit with Jay talking about his baby mother, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
Obviously Nas didn't give a fuck because he was just like, oh, her, man, fuck that bitch. I guess that's the way that he carried it.
Even she tried to monetize after that because she dropped that book.
She did. And you know what the crazy thing in that book is that she kind of went after Nas and kind of went after Jay too, because she said that when she went over to Jay's crib that it was like a shrine to Nas there with the first Illmatic Deluxe edition or something like that, like collector's edition. It was almost like the nigga had a mini shrine to Nas in his house. So it's like, yo, how you gonna put the man out there like that, yo? It's crazy. Right. So, yeah, so... But 01, it was a lot of things that came out this year. It really, when we talk about some of the years we talked about before, not really a stacked year per se, as far as when it comes to classic things that have come out, but a lot of solid projects. And I remember copping a lot of releases. My way of copying releases around that time was mainly through file sharing. It was through peer-to-peer networks. It was Kazaa, Song Spy, because that was the one that was there that actually was my favorite peer-to-peer network, and LimeWire. But Kazaa was definitely the biggest one at that particular time.
LimeWire.
Yeah.
Kids don't know about LimeWire.
Yeah. Because like definitely Kazaa, Airy, Song Spy, LimeWire were all the ways I was finding ways to be able to get those albums. I definitely wasn't buying them during that time because a nigga was broke in college, you know? So, but.
I was buying CDs.
Yeah.
I would buy some, but like, because I remember like after, because I had just missed the train as far as Napster, but then like, Audio Galaxy came out. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah.
That definitely did justice to like 2000, 2001, so they shut that down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They always shutting something down.
They shut them joints down, man, definitely. So just like we did with 96, fellas, we're going to go through surprising, anticipated, and disappointing albums from that year. So I'll actually go ahead and start with you, Jay. We'll start with your most anticipated album from that year. What album did you anticipate the most leading up to that year that you were like, yo, I can't wait till this shit come out. I can't wait till it comes out. I need to hear it.
Just piggybacking off early, like, you know, Blueprint and Stillmatic. And this one might kind of like be a surprise with like Sticky Fingers during Black Trash Autobiography of Kirk Jones.
Autobiography of Kirk Jones, yeah. That was like, Sticky's his first debut solo album, I think. Yeah.
Oh, and how can I forget that Pastor Troy Face Off drink? Because you know what I'm saying, like people stepped on Troy, man, as far as like, you know, his production skills. I mean, outside of everything, him trying to diss No Limit and all that.
Yeah.
But he definitely brought on that drink. And then D12's Devil's Night. Because of course that's like in the middle of like Eminem, and then he bringing his crew on, and you know what I'm saying, we still had Proof with us, and like, you know, you just kind of anticipated what they had to bring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye. So
yeah, definitely. I can remember the anticipation coming around that, especially because everybody was waiting for Jada to do a solo joint. And
oh my God, I don't know how I almost forgot, but like Project Pat, Mr. Don't Play, everything's working. Like,
oh yeah.
That brings back some memories, like hitting up some spots, like cruising around, like you know what I'm saying, like, and it was kind of fun. I guess you can classify that under crunk, if anything, like, you know, even though it is like down south hip hop, but more so on the side of crunk.
Yeah.
And I would say also Redman Malpractice. As far as James I was anticipating, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I guess it's all the ones I could think of right now as far as like what I anticipated.
Yeah. True. Damo, what about you? What were you anticipating during that year that you wanted to hear the most?
I was Mobb Deep, Infamy.
Okay.
You know, of course, Nas, Stillmatic. Beanie Siegel, The Reason. Fabulous, you know, Ghetto Fabulous.
Yeah.
Because I thought Fabulous was on his way.
Yeah. I think a lot of us thought he was, too.
Aaliyah's album. Cisco's album, Return of the Dragon, because, you know, he had Thong Song cranking, but, you know, we wanted the album. Yeah, I think that was about it. You know, because I really wasn't a big J fan then, so it didn't matter that Blueprint. Somebody was, oh, you know the Blueprint? Whatever.
Yeah. I would say for me, my most anticipated albums that I was looking for during that particular time, I definitely was looking towards Stillmatic for obvious reasons, because I was so glad that Nas was coming back out with something, and I was hearing good things about it, and I thought that I would be pleased, but I was overwhelmed by what I got after, you know what I'm saying, that atrocity that was not only just Nostradamus, but then also the QB's Finest album, you know what I'm saying, that both of them joints was, you know, some hot trash. And then the other one, actually, that I was anticipating a lot, that, you know, was Luda's Word of Mouth, you know, because
I was a one.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by what I had heard from Luda that freshman year when he came out with Back for the first time. You know, I knew that he definitely had some bars, and for a dude from Atlanta, he definitely made some music that banged. So I was looking forward to that when it came out. You know, that joint had the rollout and, you know, area codes and everything else. So I was kind of looking towards to see what he would do as a follow-up to that. So those were my two anticipated. Now, what album, when you listen to it, that it surprised you? What about that, Jay? Did you listen to something, anything that surprised you in particular that's been like it exceeded your expectations?
That Sticky Fingers Black Trash train, because I didn't expect it to to be a storyline album. Mm-hmm. And then like, you know, just like the humor that was involved, the production, and especially the joint, I don't know if you call it, man, like the joint, the State versus Kirk Jones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I listened to that joint to the very end. I was like, that's hip hop. Mm-hmm. I remember I had to call my mans up like and let him listen to it over the phone, like, because I think somehow I got it first, but like, yeah, I got it before he did. He usually gets albums before me, and like, you know how it was like, it seemed like it was more or less like a Jersey thing, with the exception of Sticky being from Brooklyn. So it was like, it was Cannabis, Rod Digger, Redman. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think if there was anybody else in there, but like, just that whole way the thing played out in the courtroom, I was like, he said the same thing, like, dude, that's hip hop.
Yeah. Just
the creativity level of it. As far as anything else, I guess exceeded my expectations. I say Stillmatic, everything considered, you know, for him, that to be kind of like a comeback for him, for Nas. Mm-hmm. And again, like creativity wise, like, because I love the song Rewind.
Yeah, you can't get much better than that, man.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, just like the whole backwards journey, and then One Mic, and I'm trying to think what else. Then Second Childhood, like, you know, just like all these other joints on there, but see, as far as anything else I heard that like exceeded expectations, I would say the D12 joint and the Past Detroit joint. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, I was more. I don't say I'm less open minded now, but like, I was a little more welcoming, even taking Bizarre's lyrics into consideration. Mm-hmm. Like nowadays, like, I don't know if I want the energy around me, especially the shit Bizarre was talking about on those tracks. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. Nah, I hear you. Yeah, so Damo, what about you? What exceeded your expectations from that year? Something that you probably weren't expecting to be as good as it was when you finally listened to it.
T.I.'s I'm Serious.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that one to be what it was, because one of my cousins put me on to that, and I was like, all right. I was like, oh, all right. I was like, who this? Okay, you don't put me on to something, cuz. I said, this is all right.
Yeah. T.I.'s I'm Serious is something that didn't get a lot of promotion from the label, and it flopped sales-wise. But if you talk to anybody who listened to it back then, they'll tell you it was the start of something. Like, people know that T.I. had something in there, you know, and it's a shame that people didn't really know about who he was until 2 years later when he dropped Trap Music. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, then everybody knew who he was. So, well,
and Comega, The Realness.
See, that's a key one right there. That's a key one right there with Mega the Realness.
Yep, because I've been waiting for it. It seemed like something happened with him and Nas and them that they didn't get back together the way they supposed to. But I was like, all you was hearing was Comega from the firm. And then you're like, all right, so where the hell this nigga at?
Right. His album never dropped. He had a couple of albums was supposed to drop and they never did, but then he finally dropped this joint.
But didn't he like just get out of jail that year though?
I
know
think
he was locked up.
Well, he was locked up, but I think there were a couple of things, because he had an album like in '98 that was supposed to drop with Def Jam, because he had signed with Def Jam, and then the album never dropped. It got shelved, and I think he did do a little bit of time, and then eventually he ended up coming back out, and then because I know that he was on Murder Music with Mobb Deep, and there was a few things here and there between them, but you know, everybody was waiting for that Cormega solo album to come out, and it never did.
And now I think about, like, Nas definitely had some disdain towards Cormega at that time. When I think about Destroy and Rebuild, now I think about the lyrics of it.
Yeah.
We call him like Buckwheat look-alike. I'm like, God, that's your man, though.
Yeah, he definitely, well, I think part of that, and also I think Hate Me Down, a little bit of that was directed towards him as well, because, you know, him and Mega had a falling out. Mega was supposed to have been a part of the firm, the original firm, and, you know, Mega was out, and then they replaced him with Nature, which I think was a big mistake. But the one thing I can say, it was good to see them come back together on Nas's King's Disease, though. Even though it was almost a little bit too late at that point, I think. But it was kind of good to be able to hear them, and also to see that Nas and Cormega finally ended and squashed whatever beef they had. But and The Realness was a solid joint. It was a real solid joint, listening to it and finally being able to see this, you know, hip-hop free agent, you know, next up, kind of get up there. It wasn't, I don't think, you know, I wouldn't say it was a classic, but I would say it was definitely a very dope joint, you know what I'm saying? And it's surprising to be able to see he was able to carry and maintain that momentum. The one that I think I was most surprised by Project Pat Misters Don't Play, because I didn't really like 3 6 going into college, and I got into them as I got into college. One, because I was around people that loved 3 6, and then also, you know, I started smoking more. So when I started smoking more, I
them at that time.
Yeah,
that's why I couldn't say it. I still didn't. It was 01. I still didn't. Like, I was still at our lunchroom mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. And when I started hanging around people that and I started smoking more, it definitely opened my mind up. And listening to that joint, I was like, yeah, this was definitely a smoker's playlist play over and over again, because this was smoking music. And I kind of got into it and was like, yo, you got to look at this music for what it is and understand that, you know, you're not going to listen to this with the same capacity you going to listen to Nas with. Like, yo, understand that.
And it's a different flow.
And it's a different
like,
flow.
They flowing.
Yeah.
It's not the flow that we was used to.
Yes, exactly. Right. The second one that I was really surprised by was Pete Rock, Pete Instrumentals. I was like, yo, how could an album full of instrumentals really be that great? Like, and then you listen to it, and it was just like, oh shit. Like, oh shit, this is not just like decent, this is fire. Like, you know, so it's just like, yo, more of this. I want more of this, like right now. I want more of this right now. So that became a favorite of mine. And that became like a cleanup album for me. Like, that became a cleanup and a study album for me, like, really. And now we're going to get into most disappointing. Y'all might be mad at me for my most disappointing joint, but Jay, what about you? So what were you most disappointed in? Something that just didn't meet your expectations at all?
Because, like, it's kind of funny, like, the most disappointing ones I didn't actually outright buy, you know what I'm saying? I might have heard from somebody else.
Yeah.
Maybe the spark was gone for this man by then, but I'd have to say Cannabis with that See True Hollywood Stories.
Yeah.
Could you really been disappointed by that time?
I mean, I was still had hope for the man, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like,
which I missed in pre-pro. The hope was gone after LL was done with him.
Because I would say 2000 BC was pretty good, but like, and that was after the fact.
Yeah, it was decent.
But like, I mean, because with that argument, I could say, like, you know, it was going after Can Out Bust, because that was definitely a letdown. His first joint.
Yeah.
I mean, but nobody was really checking for him after that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, See True Hollywood Stories. I hate to say it, like, I guess Wu-Tang Iron Flag, like, as much as I'm a fan of them, it just didn't really really do it for me.
Nah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Because I tried to block out the joints I thought were, like, for lack of a better term, whack. So, to a lesser degree, I would even say Malpractice with the Red Man joint.
Oh, yeah. Nah,
I'm with you on that. Not saying it was whack, but, like, it didn't have the same intense, like, you know what I'm saying, his first 4 albums did. I'm thinking I chalked up, like, you know, by that point Redman was more so messed with like Hollywood. That was like How High, and you know, like, he had like other stuff going on, so maybe he didn't put all that into his album like he would have on his previous releases. So again, not whack. I mean, because that joint Let's Get Dirty, I mean, I believe that was on there, but like, and it had a couple joints, but it just didn't like hit like his previous releases did.
Nah, it definitely didn't hit like those first 4 albums though. Definitely did not. You know, the same energy, that Redman energy you expecting to get on an album. I just didn't get that same energy from him.
I mean, and clearly he still has it nowadays. So that slap the shit out you, Joint. It's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. She still got it. He still has his fastball. So, Damo, what about you? What were you disappointed in listening to that year?
Fabulous album.
You were? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And why were you disappointed in it? What disappointed you? Yeah, what disappointed you?
He had like a couple of radio cuts, like the two radio cuts he had off of that. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the album was I was like, yo, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And it makes you even more mad because the more you think about it, even to more now, like most of the time, his albums really ain't that good. But the mixtapes be fire. Yeah. So I don't know how you get the mixtapes be fire, but your album be straight toilet water. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, the album's a little bit more better now. Yeah. But it ain't to the... All his best shit is the mixtape shit.
Yeah. You got artists like that.
Yeah. It's like, sort of like him and Joe Budden have the same problem. Joe Budden, album Joe Budden and mixtape Joe Budden are two completely different niggas. Like, just like with Fab, mixtape Fab and album Fab ain't the same one. It's like mixtape Fab is like, yo, if you ain't got this nigga and you're topping the game, something wrong with you. Same thing with Button. If you ain't got those mood music joints, like, yo, if you don't got Button, it's almost like the same thing. It's like the mixtape person and the album person ain't the same person. The effort into one versus the other is not the same. You right.
So you ain't even getting the same music. Like, what the hell are you? What's going on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's yeah. It's I would chalk that up to label stuff, man. Is that the label is the one that's funding the album, so they're gonna want you to do certain things. Mixtapes, you got a little bit more freedom because
maybe it's Clue fault.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Damn, ball on Clue.
Speaking of Clue, I got 3 disappointments that I want to point to.
Oh snap!
The first one is DJ Clue's The Professional, Part 2. Yeah. And this had a promising start because it had a good first single. That Back to Life 2001 with Mary J and Jada definitely hit, you know, like you did. But other than that, the rest of it really was a mixed bag, man. It was, you know, there was a track on there with Nas, Live from the Bridge, and but a lot of it was like, almost like, yo, this is really the best you can come up with. Like, after you put out The Professional, this is the best you can come out with. And then it's just, I was just a little disappointed in it. The second one that I was disappointed in, and people might be mad at me, but I was disappointed in Jadakiss Kiss the Game Goodbye. And I was disappointed because I was expecting a lot more, especially because we were really, out of anybody from the Locks, people were looking out for Kiss's joint a lot more than either Chic or Styles. So I think I was expecting, he had a couple of radio joints, you know, Knock Yourself Out, We Gonna Make It. But other than that, the rest of the album was just, as they say on the internet, it was kind of mid to me, you know? It was mid. It wasn't really anything that really blew me away. And it started the whole thing. We talked about mixtape versus album. It started a run where album-wise, he wasn't putting out like the quality stuff he could put out with albums. And it's ironic because Styles was the one, to me, I thought, that put out a better first album.
I was about to say.
Yeah, you know, so.
Gentlemen,
yeah.
That's on a classic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the last one for me, the disappointing, was AZ's 9 Lives. AZ has this thing where it's almost like, it's like that syndrome that LL Cool J has. Puts out a fire album, puts out a disappointing album. Fire album, disappointing album. Fire album, disappointing album. And to me, this was sort of like, this was disappointing. I mean, because I expect a lot out of AZ. I felt like I wasn't getting the energy that I needed to get out of him and the exceptionalism I needed to get out of him. There were a couple of tracks on there like Problems and, you know, everything else, but other than that, I was disappointed. And that was a joint that was on Motown too. So I kind of feel like it was a matter of him being on yet another label after he left another label, and now it's another label not knowing what to do with him. So those are my disappointed joints. The one thing that I will have to say, though, is that when it came to party joints this year, definitely this was, and being in college during that time and being during those times in your collegiate years, as we like to say it, there was definitely a lot of party music that came out during that time that kept the parties going. I mean, another album that came out during that year was Smissy and Missy with Get Your Freak On and 1 Minute Man and stuff like that. Definitely stuff that was on the soundtrack during that time. Jay, if you remember, that's when that group Coffee Brown came out with After Party. 112's, their third album, came out during that time as well, that Part 3. So there was a lot of good party music that came out during that time. I just kind of feel like this was really starting the beginning of the start of the decline when, you know, things were really starting to go more commercial than anything else. And I could tell that by looking at the list of the albums that came out during this time. There we are. So we're going to cover a lot of these albums this year from 2001. You're definitely going to hear about Blueprint, definitely going to hear about Stillmatic, Missy, So Addictive, Word of Mouth. We're going to cover I'm Serious. We're going to look at Mr. Don't Play. That's actually coming up not too long from now, so be on the lookout for that. So we'll cover a lot of this. I'm also looking to do maybe a couple of bonus segments about Cormega the Realness, and so that you can take a look to see what it is that we have coming up for that, man. So 2001, here it is.
I was going to say one thing before we head out, though.
Yeah.
Like, going back to the point as far as Morgan, I mean, I know it's more so on the dancehall side, but like as far as like keeping the party going.
Yeah.
Remember T.O.K.?
Oh yeah, definitely. T.O.K. with that. Now that song is not a song that is celebrated as widely as it was back then.
Right. I'm looking back then. I'm like, y'all know what y'all singing?
Yes. And see, that's the thing. Is like I was just wondering. It's like, I wonder if all these Yankees in this party know exactly what the hell he's actually saying. Yeah. And it was
caught up with the whole "My Crew," my dogs. I'm like, do you know what the rest of the song is about?
Oh, a gallon to fill up my balls. Like, wow. Yo, that's crazy, yo. Like, T.O.K., definitely was dropping some stuff. Bounty Killer was dropping some stuff down there. Baby Sham definitely was on fire during that year, too, man.
Yeah, Headed for the Top came out there, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that joint was like, that was a sleeper, I think. But.
Yeah, and he definitely had that joint. He had that collabo with Foxy Brown, so... 01 was a nice little year coming into dancehall, but heading into that next couple of years, dancehall definitely took a next step up into popular culture, man, with Sean Paul and a lot of different other dancehall acts, man. But so there it is, 2001, y'all. Y'all let us know what you think on social media. Hit us up, holla at us. Let us know what your memories are during that particular year, pop culture, hip hop, and otherwise. Hit us up on social media. Interact with us, man. Leave us a comment. Let us know where you stand. We definitely love to hear and interact with all of y'all, man. We do it here all for you. And that is going to wrap up yet another edition of The Vault. Please make sure you are checking us out on our new host on Red Circle. You can also get to any one of our streaming sources, download, stream, and subscribe to The Vault Classic Music Reviews. In the bio of all of our social media pages, you can get to our link tree. And then that link tree, you can get to all of our streaming sources and on all of our social media sites. You can reach us on Instagram on @VaultCMR Podcast, on Twitter @VaultClassic, and on Facebook and YouTube. You can search us by looking for the Vault Classic Music Reviews Podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page. Keep spreading the word out there. Keep interacting with us on social media. Again, we do it here all for you. We appreciate the support, and if you have a friend, tell a friend, and make sure that friend tells a friend. And always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we'd like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.